Generally speaking, there are 4 common ways to get information using the survey method. Face-to-face surveys using written questionnaires. In this case, the researcher may distribute a written questionnaire to a group of people while being physically present in the room to offer explanations, etc. Or the researcher may decide to conduct the survey in one-to-one sessions, using a questionnaire and recording the answers verbatim on the questionnaire, more like a highly structured interview. For example, a teacher distributes a questionnaire in the class, allows 10 minutes for completion, and then collects the questionnaire from the students. Or the teacher may decide to spend 5 minutes with each student individually after the class to survey them using only fixed questions from the questionnaire. Telephone surveys are the fastest method of gathering information from a relatively large sample. The interviewer follows a prepared script that is essentially the same as a written questionnaire. However, unlike a mail survey, the telephone survey allows the opportunity for some opinion probing. Telephone surveys generally last less than 10 minutes. Mail surveys are a cost-effective method of gathering information. They are ideal for large sample sizes or when the sample comes from a wide geographic area. They cost a little less than telephone interviews, however, they take over twice as long to complete. Because there is no interviewer, there is no possibility of interviewer bias. The main disadvantage is the inability to probe respondents for more detailed information. Nowadays, the use of email, subject to availability, speeds up the process of postal surveys and makes it cost-effective. Internet surveys are relatively new and little is known about the effect of sampling bias. While it's clearly the most cost-effective and fastest method of distributing a survey, the demographic profile of the Internet user does not represent the general population, although this is changing. Before doing an email or Internet survey, carefully consider the effect that this bias might have on the results. Read Chapter 11 of the e-research book, where Anderson and Kanuka offer some advice on how to overcome bias in web-based surveys. So, survey, as a method, counts on questionnaires, written questionnaires in particular, to elicit information from the sample. A questionnaire is an instrument. It is a tangible form on which you elicit and record information. The various activities involved in carrying out a sample survey using questionnaires can be divided into 6 main stages: initial design and planning, designing the questionnaire, pre-testing it, final design and planning, data collection, analysis and reporting. The most straightforward task for a survey is to answer questions of how many, how much, who, when, and where types. It can provide an estimate of the number or proportion of people who hold a certain belief. E.g., you may ask people if they believe that online degrees are of equal quality with the campus-based face-to-face degrees, or engage in particular behaviour. E.g., you may ask the participants who have, as a student, completed an online degree during the past 3 years. The kind of descriptive information can be of value in its own right in helping to gauge public opinion, perhaps as a precursor to introducing or changing legislation with regard to online degrees. It can also be used to answer research questions or test hypotheses derived from theories. For example, the hypothesis that mature students perform better in online programs when compared with traditional age students is something that can be addressed by means of survey. While most surveys target the individual, this is not an essential feature. You may be interested in groups, organizations, or other units such as schools and hospitals in order to assess their performance or effectiveness. An early design decision concerns the population from which the sample of respondents is to be drawn. An important consideration is the geographical area to which we wish to generalize the results. It may be necessary, for example, to modify your research questions, making them more inclusive of different characteristics of different populations. Consider a question addressed to European Union citizens, aiming to find out the year of study they are currently enrolled in. You need to take into account that some EU countries have 5-year degrees. Similar issues may arise for questions related to the age of the population, the titles they use to describe particular professions, and so on. Finally, you need to consider the sampling frame you will use. The sampling frame is the source of the eligible population from which the survey sample is drawn. For a survey of people in a higher education institute, this could be all those with a matriculation number. For general population surveys, telephone directories have often been used, though a moment of thought will reveal some of their inadequacies. Not everyone has a phone. In your case, as students studying research methods as part of an MSc programme, you are more likely to have an almost perfect match between your sampling frame and the population of interest. This can be the students in your university, or the students studying a particular subject, or in a particular mode in your school or university. It may also be all eligible staff members in your institutions, and so on. It is worth stressing that the questions for the questionnaire are not produced by you sitting down and trying to think of interesting things to ask. The survey questions should be designed to help achieve the goals of the research and in particular to answer the research questions. It's really important to understand that the design of the questionnaire should take into account both the researcher who designs the questions and the respondent who replies to them. The best way to address any issues of conflicts between the two parties involved in the survey design is to think of them as having to deal with the two distinct but aligned tasks. The key in the task is that the respondents must be able to understand the questions in a way that the researcher intends, have accessible information needed to answer them, be willing to answer them, and actually answer them in the form called for in the question. The researcher's central task is to link research questions and survey questions. Let's take an example from a blended and online education context. A research question like, are students who use blogs more likely than those who do not use blogs to show evidence of reflective thinking in their final essay exams, is clearly inappropriate as an actual survey question. If we were to ask the question to the total number of academic staff in a higher education institution and get, let's say, 60% agreeing, 25% disagreeing, and 15% don't know, any assessment based on these results would be dubious. Respondents cannot very well report about their views of blogging or reflecting in general. An obvious improvement would be to break the research question in a number of more focused questions. For example, do you use blogs? Yes or no. Do you see any value in students using blogs as part of their studies? Yes, no, I don't know. How many blogs assist students with their tasks? Tick all that apply. 1. Improving writing skills. 2. Improving reflecting skills. 3. Improving socialization skills. 4. All of the above. 5. None of the above. 6. Other. Please specify. Reflecting further on this, or doing some type of pre-testing, might raise possible criticisms of this form of the questions. For example, respondents may not understand what is meant by blogs or reflecting skills. Respondents may have different views of what is meant by reflecting skills. Don't know is not appropriate here. They are asked about their views or opinions, not their knowledge. Not opinion or not sure would be preferable. All these are issues to think of when you try to link a research question to a survey question. Can you see how long we have moved from the research question? We hope so. Now, in relation to the respondent's task, the respondent first has to understand the question, which is why wording is so important. Most of the times, a self-completion form, via post or online, will be used, and the respondents will be on their own. You can't help them other than by writing instructions and the questions themselves. An important part of the pre-testing is to find out whether they can answer the questions you are asking without being confused. Therefore, when you use fixed alternative responses, Make sure that these responses are accurate, that they link to the central point of the questions, exhaustive, that means that all possible options are covered, include other if necessary. Finally, possible answers must be mutually exclusive, meaning that only one of the possible responses applies, unless you clearly specify that your area after more than one choices. The following two slides include a useful checklist to avoid problems with the wording. Take a minute to look at them and raise any questions you may have in the online problems forum for your tutors or co-learners to comment. Keep in mind that the wording of the questions is crucially important and a time-consuming task. You may get it wrong in your first try, but sharing it with trusted colleagues and piloting with a small sample of your target population will help you to get the results you want. Once the questions are written, they must be organised into some type of structure. The format could be assembled as a booklet or a single sheet of paper that is stapled together in the corner. In the case of a web-based questionnaire, the researcher will have to enter the questions in the survey system and edit and format them online. The questionnaire, in paper-based or online style, should include the following elements. A cover letter. A questionnaire should always be sent accompanied by a cover letter. The letter should include the title of the questionnaire, the purpose of the study, why and how the participant was selected to receive the questionnaire, and who is sponsoring the research, or in the case of an MSc, the higher education institute of the student. It is important to reassure your selected participants at this stage of any confidentiality issues and how they will be addressed. Also included should be the names, addresses, telephone numbers and emails of the student and the supervisors after they have been consulted, in case the respondents want to address a question prior to completing the questionnaire. Remember to include a deadline for returning the submission of the questionnaire. Questionnaire introduction. State the purpose of the questionnaire, why it's being conducted, who is undertaking the research, the university responsible for the questionnaire. In essence, a short recap of some of the information included in the covering letter. You should also include instructions. Give clear instructions on how to answer the questions. For example, will the answers be circled, or will a check mark be used? Will the respondent be expected to fill in a blank? If there are open-ended questions, is the question written so that the respondent needs to answer with more than a yes or a no response? Are there clearly written instructions that tell the respondent to skip to a particular section on a designated page? In the case of a web-based questionnaire, make sure that you offer clear instructions about selecting appropriate boxes, ticking, etc. Grouping questions. Group questions with a similar topic together in a logical flow. Use a transition statement when moving to a new topic within the questionnaire. For example, state, "Next, we would like to ask you several questions about your attitudes towards asynchronous online discussions." Demographic questions. Place all demographic questions at the end of the questionnaire. Demographic questions include asking a person's age, gender, amount of formal education, ethnic group, etc. Ask only the demographic information you need to know for analysing the data. You should also include other comments. Allow space on the questionnaire to ask respondents to share any other comments. Thank you. Always remember to thank the respondent for completing the questionnaire. What to do with the questionnaire. At the end of the questionnaire, repeat the deadline for returning the completed instrument or submitting it electronically, and the name and address of the person it should be mailed to. Always include the mail to address in case the enclosed envelope is misplaced by the respondent, or in case the participant wants to print out an electronic questionnaire and submit it via post. Establishing the validity and reliability of the instrument is an important aspect of instrument development and testing. This should be done before the instrument is administered to the target population. Validity and reliability are the benchmark criteria for assessing the quality of the instrument. What is validity? Validity asks the question, does the instrument measure what you want it to measure? An instrument that is valid for a specific situation or audience may not be valid in a different situation or for a different audience. How do you establish the validity of the instrument? Establishing the validity of an instrument includes a review of the instrument by a panel of experts and a field test. The general procedures are as follows. Clearly define what you want to measure, e.g., British pounds spent, knowledge level, attitude, people involvement, behaviour change. Locate or develop questions to include in the instrument. Search for existing instruments related to your evaluation focus and topic of interest. These may be useful as a guide in developing the new instrument. Develop a draft of the instrument in consultation with some of your colleagues. Select 2 or 3 people to serve as a panel of advisors. In your case, your research supervisors may play this role. These people should be knowledgeable in the specific content area of the instrument. This group will review the instrument in terms of content, format, and audience appropriateness. It is very important you inform the panel of the purpose of the instrument. Once the panel reviews the instrument and provides you with comments and suggestions for revision, revise the instrument using the panel's comments for guidance. After the validity is established, the reliability of the instrument needs to be tested through a pilot group. What is reliability? Reliability asks the question, does the instrument consistently give the same results with the same group of people under the same condition? Other words that are used synonymously with reliability are accuracy, dependability, consistency, and stability. Pilot tests are used to establish reliability of the instrument in terms of accuracy and consistency. The general procedures are as follows. Select 5 to 10 people to participate in the pilot test. They will be asked to complete the entire instrument twice. These people should have characteristics similar to those of your target population. Administer the instrument to this group. Within 7 to 10 days, administer the same instrument to the same group. Compare the scores, referred to as a paired score, for each question on the 2 sets of instruments. A high percentage of agreement between the pair scores indicates a reliable instrument. Use 70% as an acceptable percentage level. Questions within the instrument receiving low percentage agreement need to be revised or deleted. If major revision is required, the instrument's validity testing will need to be repeated. After implementing the suggestions from the pre-testing, your main task with the questionnaire is mostly editorial. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes and that the layout is professional with appropriate spacing and clear presentation. You should start considering the analysis process. Good luck.